So in this video we'll be going through how to convert percentages into decimals and decimals into percentages. Now converting percentages into decimals and decimals into percentages I would say is probably going to be the easiest conversion out of the FDP trilogy. Now to do this we simply need to move the decimal point in the percentage 2 places to the left and therefore making the number smaller. Now note if there isn't a decimal point in the percentage then place one at the end like a full stop at the end of a sentence. Alternately, if you've got access to a calculator, all you then need to do is divide the percentage by 100. Now we've seen this sort of formula of the percentage divided by 100 when we looked at converting percentages into fractions. However, with this what we actually need to do is the percentage actually divided by 100 and actually physically work that out. So not leave it as a fraction, obviously we're working with decimals. Now this is definitely something that I would certainly highlight and you want to make a note of again on a revision card just so you know, and you can add this to the other conversions of fractions and decimals and percentages and vice versa. So let's have a look at some examples of what I mean by this. So let's start off with question 1. So question 1, all we've been asked to do is to convert the following into decimals. So as you can see, if I write down 45 as a number, now you can see that there's no decimal point in 45, so I'm just going to assume that it's at the end. Well, not assume, it is actually at the end. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and it's always by 2 places. So 1, 2, so the decimal point now is going to go in front of the 4, giving me an answer of 0.45. Now with 76%, again I've got 76, there's no decimal point, so I'm going to move it 2 places, so 1, 2, so the decimal point goes there, giving me an answer of 0.76. Now for question 3 we've got 6%. Now again, although unlike the previous 2 examples where we had 2 digit numbers, with 6 I'm going to still move it 2 places, so I'm going to move it 1, 2. Now as you can see I've got a phantom space here, so I'm going to fill those phantom spaces with zeros, giving me an answer of 0.06. For 12.5%, again, now this is the first example where I have got a decimal point, but again I'm going to move it 2 places to the left. So that then becomes 0.125. Now the key thing is don't leave your answer as this, because you can't have 2 decimal points in a number. So try and avoid doing that. And definitely don't do this, because by writing this will completely and utterly nullify any other answers that you follow. So make sure if you're doing that you cross that out and you write your final answer clearly underneath. Now with question 5 again we've got 65.76. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm actually, I don't know what's going on with that 8, so let's just sort that out. And as you can see I'm ignoring the percentage sign because all we're focusing on is the decimal point and focusing on moving that decimal point 2 places to the left, giving me an answer of 0.6578. With the next one, so here I've got 0.2, so again I've got decimal point, I'm going to move it 2 places and I'm going to fill any empty gaps, particularly starting with 0 at the front. Now I'm hoping that you may be spotting a particular pattern in this, and I don't know why I've written a 1, so let's just let's get rid of that. So however, although you may be right in thinking, oh, I just stick 2 zeros in front of the number, in front of the percentage, and put the decimal point after the first 0, well in some cases that might be true. So 1, 2, so again I'm adding 2 zeros and putting a decimal point in the after the first 0, so this one would be 0.0005. Now the problem with that is with 125%, which is possible, it just means you're getting more than double, is that with 125 you might think, oh, it's just going to be 0.0125. But actually that's really wrong, because you need to remember the general method is moving the decimal point. So here we've got 125. Now if you think to yourself, where's the decimal point? Well, it's here. I'm going to move it 2 places. So it's actually the conversion of 125% actually doesn't involve any zeros at all. So it's just 1.25. And likewise with 340%, the decimal point's at the end, so I'm going to move it 2 places, so it's between the 3 and the 4, giving me a final answer of 3.4. Now if I just chuck in a bonus question, what happens if I had 143.3%? Well, again, I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places, so then the decimal point moves between the 1 and the 4, giving me an answer of 1.433. And again, that's just a bit of a bonus question. So it's all about moving the decimal point. So try not to find too many little shortcuts, because although they may work for maybe 95%, excuse the pun, of the questions, it's not going to work for all of them. So we then move on to converting decimals into percentage. Now here we just kind of need to do the opposite. Now when I mean the opposite, I don't mean from moving the multiplying. We're now going to look at dividing. It's about moving the decimal point 2 places again, but in the opposite direction. So this time you're going to be making the number bigger. Alternately, you can multiply the decimal by 100 if you've got access to a calculator. And again, I would strongly recommend that you make a note of these, and obviously with these 2 alternative methods. So let's have a look at some examples then. So here we've got to convert the following into a percentage. Now all we're going to do here is with 0.76, we're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So then that 0 disappears and I'm left with 76, and I'm going to put a percentage at the end. So here with 0.8, I'm going to move the decimal point 1, 2, so it's now here. And again, you're going to eliminate that 0, so then it becomes 80%. And then with this one, we're moving it 2 places, which then gives me 8%. Here we're going to move it 2 places, so it's between the 6 and the 5, giving me 76.5%. With question 5, we've got 2, so our decimal point is here. I'm going to move it 2 places. Again, filling any empty loops with zeros, so that then becomes 200%. With 1.36, and again I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places, so it becomes here. That kind of disappears, so that becomes 136%. And with 0.004, again I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places, so then it becomes 0.4%. And finally with 2.58, decimal point is there, I'm going to move it 2 places, so then it becomes 258%. And there we go.